The debris field stretched for 1,000 kilometers in all directions, a graveyard of twisted metal and shattered dreams. The remnants of what had once been the pride of Earth's outer defense fleet drifted silently through the void, their running lights extinguished forever. Admiral Ketherick of the Zephyrian Empire surveyed the carnage from his flagship's command deck, his serpentine features twisted into what passed for satisfaction among his species. The scales along his neck rippled with pleasure as he observed the destruction. "Report," he hissed to his tactical officer, his forked tongue tasting the recycled air of victory. 73 human vessels destroyed. Admiral, their defense line has completely collapsed. The officer's arms danced across his console with practiced efficiency. Only minimal resistance remains around Mars. Perhaps a dozen ships at most. Ketherick's scaled head nodded approvingly. The humans had fought harder than their intelligence report suggested, but their primitive technology was no match for the combined might of the Galactic Empire's finest. The battle had raged for 18 hours. Human destroyers and frigates had thrown themselves against the alien armada with desperate courage, their captains refusing surrender even as their ships burned around them. High above Mars, the remnants of Earth's outer fleet limped through space like wounded animals. The U.S. Defiance, a battered heavy cruiser that had seen better decades, led the survivors in what could only be called a fighting retreat. Commander Elena Vasquez gripped her command chair as another plasma burst exploded against their failing shields. Her dark eyes burned with the kind of determination that had carried humanity to the stars. Despite the blood trickling from a deep cut on her forehead, "Damage report." She barked over the alarm klaxons. "Port engine offline, shields at 15% and falling." Her engineering officer called out, his voice hoarse from shouting over the chaos. "We've lost half our weapons systems, and the main reactor is running on emergency power." Vasquez studied the tactical display with the cold calculation of a chess master facing check. 12 human ships left against an alien armada of over 300. The math was simple and brutal. "Ma'am," her communications officer turned toward her, his young face pale with exhaustion. "We're receiving surrender demands on all frequencies. The aliens are offering terms. Tell them where they can shove their terms," Vasquez replied coldly, her voice carrying the steel that had earned her command of one of Earth's most prestigious vessels. The bridge crew exchanged glances. They'd follow their commander into hell itself, but everyone could see the writing on the wall. This wasn't a battle anymore, it was a funeral. In the Imperial flagship's war room, representatives from 6 different alien species celebrated their inevitable victory. The chamber buzzed with the sounds of multiple languages and the clicking of various appendages against control circuits. The Korthok delegation dominated one corner of the room. These massive insectoid beings, their chitinous armor gleaming under the harsh lights, clicked their mandibles in approval as they reviewed casualty reports. "The humans fought well for primitives," rumbled General Thaxos, his compound eyes reflecting the holographic display like fractured mirrors. "Better than our preliminary assessments suggested. But this confirms our intelligence. Earth has no significant defensive capabilities remaining." The Veltar representative, a graceful being of pure energy contained within a crystalline form, pulsed with colors that indicated satisfaction in their species' complex emotional spectrum. "Our preliminary scans of their homeworld show minimal orbital defenses, ancient satellites, and outdated weapon platforms. The conquest will be swift and decisive." Admiral Ketherick slithered closer to the tactical hologram, his serpentine body moving with fluid grace. "Begin preparations for the final assault on their homeworld. The human resistance ends today. Tomorrow, we feast on the spoils of their civilization." The room filled with the various sounds of alien harmonic resonances and guttural growls that would have terrified any human listener. Aboard the Defiance, Vasquez watched as another of her escort frigates, the UES Prometheus, erupted in a brilliant ball of plasma fire. The aliens were systematically hunting down the survivors, showing no mercy to the wounded or disabled vessels. "Commander," her first officer approached quietly, his voice barely audible above the sounds of damage control teams working throughout the ship. "Perhaps we should consider." "No." Vasquez's voice cut through the bridge, chatter like a laser through armor plating. "We hold the line. That's what humans do. That's what we've always done." She activated her personal communicator, broadcasting on an encrypted frequency that reached across the solar system a message she hoped someone, somewhere, would hear and remember. "This is Commander Elena Vasquez of the UES Defiant. Mars' outer defense line has fallen. Repeat, outer defense line has fallen. We are heavily outnumbered and outgunned. Requesting immediate reinforcement from anyone who's listening out there." Her voice carried across the void, bouncing off relay satellites and deep space monitoring stations that had been silent for years. In the depths of space, monitoring stations throughout the solar system picked up her transmission. Ancient automated systems, dormant since the early days of human expansion, suddenly activated with purpose. One relay station, carefully hidden among the tumbling rocks of the asteroid belt, began forwarding her message to coordinates deep in interstellar space, coordinates that didn't appear on any public star charts. The Zephyrian fleet moved into formation around Mars, like a pack of predators surrounding wounded prey. 300 ships of various alien designs created an imposing armada, their weapons trained on the red planet below. Each vessel represented the pinnacle of its species' military technology. Zephyrian destroyers with their elegant curves and energy weapons. Korthok battleships that looked like flying fortresses. Veltar vessels that seemed to bend light around their crystalline hulls. Kethrock opened a channel to all human survivors, his voice dripping with the arrogance of absolute victory. People of Earth, your outer defenses have been obliterated. Your ships burn in the void. Surrender now, and your deaths will be swift. Resist, and we will make your world burn for 1,000 years. From the surface of Mars, human colonists huddled in underground shelters, listening to the alien broadcasts with growing terror. Children cried in their parents' arms, while adults tried to maintain some semblance of hope. Vasquez refused to acknowledge the surrender demand. Instead, she ordered her remaining ships to continue their fighting retreat, buying precious time for the Mars evacuation shuttles to reach the underground bunkers. All ships maintain defensive formation. Make them pay for every meter of space. The human vessels, battered and bleeding atmosphere from dozens of holes, continued to return fire. Their weapons were primitive compared to alien technology, but human engineering had always emphasized reliability over Sir, the Zephyrian communications officer suddenly looked up from his station, his scales shifting to a confused pattern. We're detecting some unusual quantum signatures from the outer system. Kethrick dismissed the concern with a wave of his clawed hand. Probably debris from their destroyed ships creating interference. Continue the assault. I want this finished before the news cycles on the core worlds move on to other entertainment. But deep in space, something was stirring. Ancient monitoring stations, dormant for decades, suddenly activated with blinding light. Automated systems began executing protocols that had been waiting patiently for this exact moment. The first real sign of trouble came when the aliens' long-range sensors began picking up massive energy readings from beyond Pluto's orbit. Admiral, the tactical officer's voice carried a note of uncertainty that hadn't been there during the battle. We're detecting multiple warp signatures approaching from the outer system. Kethrak's serpentine eyes narrowed into suspicious slits. How many signatures? It's difficult to determine. Sir, the readings are unlike anything in our databases. The energy patterns don't match any known human technology. The alien commander felt the first stirring of unease. Intelligence had been absolute. In their assessments, Earth possessed no significant forces beyond what they had already destroyed. Aboard the Defiance, Vasquez's communications officer suddenly straightened like he'd been struck by lightning. Commander, I'm picking up a transmission from deep space. It's human, but the encryption is military grade, higher than anything in our database. The bridge fell silent, except for the background hum of failing systems. Every eye turned toward the communications console as a new voice crackled through their speakers. The accent was different, harder somehow, speaking in clipped military tones that carried the authority of someone accustomed to being obeyed without question. Mars Defense Force, this is Admiral Marcus Stone, of the Terran Deep Space Fleet. We've received your distress call and are moving to assist. Vasquez felt her heart skip a beat. Deep Space Fleet. I've never heard of any Deep Space Fleet. That's not in any of our operational database. We've been monitoring the situation from the outer colonies. The voice continued with calm authority. You've done well holding the line. Commander Vasquez, your service honors Earth, but you can stand down now. We'll take it from here. The alien fleet suddenly detected massive energy spikes throughout the outer solar system. Warp gates that had been hidden among asteroid fields and planetary rings began activating in sequence, creating a network of arrival points. Sir, the Zephyrian tactical officer's voice cracked with panic. Multiple contacts emerging from hyperspace. Dozens of them. No, hundreds. On the main display, ship after ship materialized from the void, but these weren't the primitive vessels the aliens had been fighting. These were sleek, predatory warships that looked like they had been designed by wolves all angles and aggressive lines, bristling with weapons the Empire had never seen before. General Thaxus's mandibles clicked nervously as his compound eyes processed the tactical data. How many ships do the humans actually have? Our intelligence indicated Earth's entire fleet was defending the inner system. The Veltar representative pulsed with colors indicating deep confusion and growing fear. Unknown. Sir, our scouts reported no significant human presence in the outer systems. This is impossible. Admiral Kethrick studied the readings with growing unease, his scales shifting to colors that indicated alarm among his species. What exactly are we looking at here? Admiral Stone's voice echoed across all frequencies, calm and deadly as winter wind. Allow me to introduce ourselves properly. We are the Terran Colonial Defense Force, representing humanity's outer colonies. You've been fighting our home guard. The alien commanders exchanged worried glances as more human ships continued emerging from hyperspace. Each vessel was larger than anything Earth had shown before, their hulls marked with insignia no alien had ever seen. "Impossible," whispered the Veltar representative, its crystalline form flickering with unstable energy patterns. "Our scouts conducted thorough reconnaissance. We mapped every human installation in this system." "Your scouts," Stone's voice carried a hint of amusement that somehow made it more terrifying, "saw exactly what we wanted them to see. Humans, you see, are quite good at hiding things we don't want found." Vasquez watched in amazement as the new human fleet took formation with military precision. These ships were massive, each one dwarfing her heavy cruiser. Their design was angular, aggressive, built for war in a way that made her own vessel look like a patrol boat. Commander Vasquez Stone's voice addressed her directly, carrying a warmth reserved for fellow warriors. "You and your people have shown incredible courage. Fall back to Mars orbit and let us handle this situation." The lead human vessel, a massive dreadnought nearly 2 kilometers long, moved into position between the alien fleet and Mars. Its hull bristled with weapon emplacements that seemed to shift and move as targeting systems came online. Kethruk opened a channel to the human admiral, trying to regain control of a situation that was spiraling beyond his understanding. "I am Admiral Kethruk of the Zephyrian Empire, commander of this armada. You are still outgunned and outnumbered. Surrender now and—" "Let me stop you right there," Stone interrupted with the casual authority of someone who had never known defeat. "You made several critical mistakes today. First, you attacked our home. Second, you killed our people. Third, you threatened our families." More human ships continued arriving through warp gates, their numbers growing by the minute. The tactical displays showed contact after contact, each one representing a vessel of unknown capability. "Humans," Stone continued, his voice carrying across the void like a death sentence, "have a saying about backing a cornered animal. You're about to learn why that's considered inadvisable." The alien fleet, which had seemed so imposing moments before, suddenly found itself facing an enemy force of equal size and completely unknown capability. "Sir," the Korthok tactical officer reported, his mandibles clicking with distress, "their weapon signatures are completely unknown to our shields may not be properly calibrated for their technology." Admiral Kethrok felt something he hadn't experienced in decades of conquest. Genuine fear. The certainty of victory that had sustained him through the battle began to crumble. The human admiral's next words sent chills through every alien commander in the fleet. "What you fought today was just our outer defense line. A handful of patrol ships and colonial militia, volunteers and weekend warriors." On the tactical displays, the human fleet finished its deployment, ship after ship, each one a masterpiece of military engineering that spoke of a civilization that had been preparing for this moment. The main human fleet, Stone's voice dropped to a whisper that somehow carried the weight of absolute certainty, hasn't even arrived yet. In the distance, beyond the orbit of Neptune, massive energy readings began appearing. Something vast and terrible was moving through hyperspace, heading for the inner system with the inexorable certainty of a tidal wave. Admiral Kethrok stared at his tactical display in growing horror, as hundreds of new contacts began materializing on the edge of the solar system. Each new arrival was larger than the last, their energy signatures suggesting weapons that could crack planets. The war for Earth was about to begin in earnest, and humanity, it seemed, was just getting started.